What's going on? SAMOKFIT, checking with you guys. You guys are doing well, doing terrific, and we are back with another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to squat to depth, full ROM, ass to grass. That's some people like to call it. The reason I'm bringing this video up is something weird happened, right? I posted a video.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it. Sir, flex, I do work. Work six, I'm like Mike.
TikTok. Yes, I am on TikTok. I posted a video on TikTok and posted a reel on IG, and essentially just showing, you know, how I squat deep, anything leg movement related. It's always full ROM, max knee flexion, and woke up the next day and the whole internet blew up. I believe the video is about 800 something views on TikTok, and IG, people keep tagging me on the reels that I did on IG. So first, I'm very surprised that a lot of the response that I got was, you know, wow, like, you know, out the depth of it, because I was hoping, I was not hoping, but I was expecting the other response to be like, no, you shouldn't squat ass to grass, it's bad for your knee. So it was the opposite. People were more impressed with me squatting to full depth without any other further way you can actually get deeper in my squat, as you guys just saw. So I thought, you know what, apparently this squat to depth is very elusive for a lot of people, and I thought I'd do a video in case you want to squat to depth like that, given the fact that we already got over the argument or the conversation about, yes, ass to grass, full ROM on legs, on any movement is better for you, better for muscle recruitment, better for your joints overall. But if you do want to squat to depth like that and you find some sort of restrictions in your way, this is the video for you. So before we dive deep into this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, make sure you give it a like, and at the end of the video, if you like what you see, if you want to comment on any video you want to see and you want to share with your friends, feel free to do that. Without further ado, let's get into it. For you to realize you have a problem, you have to assess yourself first. And the best way to do that is, one, you want to squat. And ideally, the way you identify if you have a good depth or if you have any issues is, one, you want to squat body weight to figure that out. So record yourself squatting body weight also, or record yourself doing any sort of like leg movement also, like to identify issues, because I do that all the time. So record yourself, squat, and you find where the issues are. So just like building a house on a poor foundation is eventually or inevitably going to crumble, the same way goes for squat. Most of the issues that a lot of people have when it comes to squat to depth typically starts from the ankle. They lack ankle mobility. So the first thing you want to look for to make sure you lack or you have ankle mobility is this test that I like to do. So the first test I want you to do is, one, I want you to grab a fist, put it right in front of your feet while standing in front of a wall, and I want you to try to drive your knee as far as possible. The goal here is you want to make sure your knee is driving over your toe as much as you can, as far as you can, without your heels coming off the ground. This will test your limitations on where your range of motion is when it comes to squat. Is your limiting factor your ankle mobility. This will identify that for you. The more range of motion that you have in your ankle mobility, the better off squats usually are. And a lot of situations, if you have the ankle mobility, then maybe the ankle is not the problem for you. It might be something else. So if you try this movement and you realize, okay, well, that's what my problem is, I got a solution for you. So once you realize you have an ankle mobility issue, the first thing you want to do is definitely you want to invest in a band like this. This is about a 40-pound resistance band, and you want to have it very, very thick, not the small ones, because again, you want something that kind of just distract your ankle, and the thin ones don't really do the job as well. So you want to distract that the way I'm describing on the screen for you guys right now. And the key here is you want to go as far as possible, as forward lean as possible. You want something to, one, anchor your heels to the ground while you're forcing yourself to to get into that motion. So what that does is that actually opens up a lot of room for you to actually drive your knee over your toe. And you want to do this about 3 to 4 sets, trying to go about maybe 12 to 15 repetitions or as long as you think you can, and then do a retest of your squatting to see if that has actually increased any sort of range of motion on your squat or increase your ankle flexibility. And the beauty of doing things like this out is, one, it doesn't only just increase your squat range of motion. Anytime you're doing things like leg press, goblet squat, Bulgarian split squats, for instance, that actually helps you to recoup a lot of muscle tissue because, again, you're driving your knees over your toe, aka you have more knee flexion. So that is the first thing that I want you to do, and apply that as much as possible. I'll say do that every day or every other day before your leg session, just to open that sort of restriction up so you can get into a deeper squat. The next thing I want you to do, the next movement I want you to do, if you have lack of ankle mobility, is going to be a goblet squat, weighted goblet squat with a plate. You're going to put it right in front of you. You're going to squat as deep as possible. You want to open your hips as much as possible, and you want to rock back and forth. And what this allows you to do is allow you to force yourself to get into that motion. Obviously, the key is you want to keep your heels to the ground as much as possible while forcing your knee, creating a force to drive that knee over your toe. This top two movements right here will immensely increase your range of motion and allow you to squat to depth. Right, so those are the top two movements that I recommend if you have any sort of limitation when it comes to squatting, and that limitation is your ankle mobility. I'll actually go ahead and give you some bonus tips here, and the bonus tip essentially is going to be for your knees. I know a lot of people have knee issues. I had knee issues. That's one of the main reasons why I was working with Dr. Marion from Squat University. Again, I will link the video in the description. You can check that video out if you want to learn some of the things I did or I was doing to make sure my knee is now, to the point where I can definitely squat like that, for you guys to enjoy that on Instagram or TikTok. So those are the things that I've been doing. So again, I will link the video, but I will give you two bonus tips here, and two bonus tips on the things that I've been doing in terms of making sure my knee's nice and ready for me to actually enjoy like a leg session without any sort of kinks and injuries or aches and pains here. The first thing I learned I learned this movement from the knees over toes guy, and essentially is walking backwards. It's either with a sled, but because the field that I know a lot of people don't have access to gyms that have long sleds. So what I've been doing is I've been walking backwards on a treadmill. Walking backwards on a treadmill allows you, obviously, essentially what you're doing is you putting your knee over your toe while you're moving. And try this for like a minute, like 2 sets for a minute. It's really enough. If you go longer than a minute, with your legs, your quads literally will be burning. And this has been a major game changer when it comes to making sure my knees nice and warm and ready before my leg session. And the second movement is essentially what Dr. Aaron Osher prescribed for me, and that is single leg squat, step back. Or again, if you watch the video, you see that essentially just like standing on a plate, and you creating a nice little hip hinge movement, and you stepping back while it helps you with knee stability. My friends, that is a video for you guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and again, I can relate to wanting to squat to depth, wanting to have fun with squatting or training in general, but you have limitations and you have injuries that you're working through. So I think checking those things and making sure your ankle mobility is on point, like I said, it's like building a house. If you build a house on a weak foundation, it's bound to crumble. So you want to identify those things, and I cannot recommend you record your movements just to find out like holes and ways you can actually improve them. So try those two things out, figure out if ankle mobility is your issue. If it is your issue, follow those steps, and hopefully you can get on your way to squat to depth and making sure you get all the stimulus that you need to grow the big massive legs that you want to grow. So check the video out. If you like this video, comment, like, share, subscribe with your friends, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.